From the Karoo Desert in South Africa, racing the Munga Ultra Endurance. Welcome to the GCN Show.
Welcome to the GCN Show.
Coming up this week, why I was wrong about safety in pro cycling and why change needs to happen.
Which may or may not be linked to alcoholic rats. We're also raising a bunch of new World Tour team kits, firing our former heads of fashion, pondering why Strava's AI is giving backhanded compliments, and whether it's learning sarcasm and helping Mark Cavendish get even more accolades. This week in the world of cycling, we learned that there's a new bike brand in the World Tour. Chinese brand XDS are not only supplying bikes to Astana, they're now also title sponsor as well, which is a huge investment.
Yeah, so apparently, as a carbon manufacturer, they have already been making the frames that half the World Tour are actually racing on. So this is something to watch, isn't it, with interest?
Yeah. How good are they going to be, and how much are they going to be sold for? The questions that come to my mind.
Well, for cheap pro bikes, you could do worse than this. We learned that now the pro cycling season is finished, you can buy this year's ex-pro bikes on match-worn shirt. It sounds like a weird website, doesn't it? Makes more sense if you're into football, I think. Yeah. As we film this, there is still time to run on the auctions, but by the look of it, there are some bargains potentially to be had, aren't there?
Some bargains, just not on Julien Alaphilippe's bike, which is the most expensive of the lot.
Yes.
Even more expensive than Filippo Ganna's time trial bike, despite that one retailing for £12,000 for just the frame and the forks.
Yeah.
Not the whole bike.
Yeah, so still 5 days for those auctions to run, though, as we record this. Now, we learned this week as well that you can now legally ride side by side in France, which is weird because I'd always assumed that as France is a cycling paradise, you'd have been able to do that since the dawn of time.
Turns out, no.
No.
You couldn't. And while the law itself is good news, the fact that it's now needed does give pause for thought.
It does, doesn't it? Right, now sticking with pause for thought, I also learned this week that I might be wrong.
What?
Yes, indeed, yeah, about safety in pro cycling.
Crikey. Where did you learn this then?
At a Christmas party.
Oh, well, this could be good.
Yep.
How did this come about, the Christmas party?
Well, okay, as you can imagine, I'm pretty much the life and soul of any Christmas party.
Undoubtedly, yes.
Everyone loves cycling chat, don't they? So I sort of feel like I'm doing everyone a service by sort of wandering around and just talking to people about bikes. So there I was, anyway, talking about cycling. And before you know it, conversation had turned to alcohol consumption in young rats.
I'm completely lost, I think.
Fair enough. Okay, we'll go back a step or two, shall we? Firstly, Dan, what is the issue of safety in pro cycling?
Well, that's a simple one to answer, I would say. So according to the UCI, the number of incidents in races has increased significantly in recent years, but that's partly down to social media. Maybe not the reasons why you think, though.
Yeah.
Basically what they mean is that more of the sport is being caught on camera and therefore logged. That's part of the reason why there's more incidents. Either way, they're looking into making the sport safer, or safer. Safer, which is the name of the working group that's currently looking into it on behalf of the UCI.
Yeah, see what we did there, yeah. Now, okay, so here's my viewpoint, right? I've always been of the opinion that the concerns around safety in pro cycling have a simple solution, which is that ultimately it's down to the riders to look after themselves and each other.
Which, to be fair to you, Si, is an opinion that is shared by Tadej Pogacar. So he was quoted as saying, "It's on the riders most to be safe." I'm quite quoting directly, can you tell?
Yes, we can.
Don't do stupid things in a bunch. You need to respect all the riders. It doesn't matter who it is. Respect the road, and you also need to think about your abilities on the bike.
Who would have thought me and Tadej have more in common than you might think? Now, my thinking, right, was that no closed road is ever intrinsically dangerous to ride down, okay? So if you asked a pro cyclist to ride down an Alp, they would get to the bottom of that Alp safely, 100 times out of 100, wouldn't they?
You'd have thought so. I mean, it's not like they're being asked to take on Red Bull Rampage in the middle of the Tour de France, is it?
No. If they did have a Rampage stage in the middle of the Tour de France, who would win?
Oh, it's got to be Pidcock, surely.
Well, Olympic cross-country mountain bike champ, my money's on Mohoric. He'd go absolutely shit or bust, wouldn't he? If he made it down in one piece, he would win, 100%. Anyway, the point is that roads are safe, right? It's the riders that make it dangerous.
Controversial take, I would say, albeit one given more credibility by Pogacar, because it's basically victim blaming, isn't it?
Yes.
So what about adolescent rats then made you change your mind about all of this?
Well, okay, right. We're getting to it now, aren't we? So the conversation that preceded the rats was about how young people, specifically under the age of 25, but even up to a certain extent, up to the age of 30, take more risks than older people, which has been attributed to lots of different things, but in part to younger brains being wired up differently. So apparently your prefrontal cortex is the part of the brain that helps to curtail risk-taking behaviour, but it doesn't mature until your mid-20s.
So your thinking is that younger riders aren't able to assess the risks in front of them in a bike race?
Well, no, because the interesting thing is that those riders can assess the risk, but that their frontal cortex potentially becomes overwhelmed.
So effectively, as you age, you're better able to self-regulate due to changes in the brain's dopaminergic system.
Probably.
I read that just before we came in here.
Crikey, yeah, okay. Well, anyway, what's really interesting, right, is the effect that group dynamics have on risk-taking. So loads of research has shown how individually young people are able to assess risk, but put them in a group and their risk-taking behaviour increases dramatically.
Which is why here in the UK, the government's actually considering restricting passengers in cars driven by new drivers under 25 years of age. There's one particular piece of research that actually showed in a virtual driving simulator, risk-taking among young people increased by 50% in the presence of two friends, whereas in adults, there was no effect whatsoever.
Yeah, super interesting, isn't it? Now, while this is a fair leap, it did get me thinking, right? So a combination of young pro riders plus that peer-to-peer influence, it's a pretty toxic combination, right? Not to mention then adding in the potential rewards of money or status that comes from doing well in a bike race.
Yeah.
You know, effectively, there are many times where you can potentially get an advantage by taking massive risks, right? So, in light of that, it's hard to see how we could ever think that a rider can make rational decisions. So maybe they need protecting from themselves.
I think you're right, that is a leap, isn't it? But I can see what you mean. The spanner in the works, though, is that the average age of a Tour de France rider is, from recollection, 29 years old. So at that point, they're sort of mature adults, would you say them? I'd say they're mature adults, and therefore not in the category that you've just been talking about.
Okay, that is a fair point, right? What about how many young riders there are? Like, for example, last year, Mark Cavendish and Geraint Thomas were racing the Tour de France. That would have raised the average age significantly, won't it?
Would have been 7 without them, wouldn't it? Well, I did check for the number of riders eligible for the under-25 white jersey competition.
Okay.
And whilst it does fluctuate slightly year on year, around 25 to 30 riders typically, it's also remained broadly consistent.
Okay.
Except for in 2000, actually, when only 10 riders under 25 finished the Tour de France.
Wow.
Yeah. Magnus Bagstedt actually finished 10th overall in the young riders classification that year. Last in it as well.
Well, yeah, okay. No, I get what you're saying, right? My theory doesn't explain why incidents are becoming more frequent because the number of young riders seems to be staying basically the same. But that's not really where I was going with it. It's that while young pros potentially need some protection from themselves, actually all pros will have a different perspective, won't they, on risk to normal people. And I think you have to have a different perspective on risk as a pro cyclist in order to, well, firstly be successful and even just to be there in the first place.
Yeah, definitely. I'd say that's true, for sure. So what you're saying then is that actually while riders have the ability to pull on their brakes, slow down and take fewer risks, the reality is they just can't be expected to. And therefore the responsibility of rider safety has to lie elsewhere?
Yeah, exactly that. Logically, the director of the Tour de France can say that riders need to take more care because they could take more care, but if that's what he's going to do, he's not going to get a reduction in incidents, is he?
So how do you reduce the number of incidents then?
No. I mean, I haven't got there yet. I've literally just thrown out my entire theory of cycling safety in the pro peloton. You expect me to come up with another one?
No solution.
No,
Brilliant.
absolutely not.
Oh, thanks, Si. Well, I guess we might be able to get a solution from the viewers, so we'll throw it out to them at home. Do you agree that young riders need protecting from themselves, or does the element of safety still rest on the shoulders of the pro peloton? Get involved in the comments. Also, where did the alcoholic rats come from? I forgot to ask at the start.
Well, yeah, we haven't talked about that, have we? That is really interesting too, right? So, apparently, according to science, if you put an alcoholic drink in front of a rat, an adolescent rat will drink the same amount as a mature adult rat. But a group of adolescent rats will individually drink way, way more, whereas a group of mature adult rats don't change their consumption relative to when they were on their own.
And what leery young piss that rat's got to do with cycling safety?
Well, admittedly, it did feel like there was more of a link between that and cycling safety after 4 hours of a Christmas party. But that group mentality, basically, feeding off others to do things that you wouldn't normally do. It's weird that basically rats exhibit the same behaviour as humans.
It is. But also, it strikes me that at your age, you shouldn't have been affected by a Christmas party mentality. So,
I mean, that is also... I'm not an adolescent anymore, am I?
Not for the last couple of years, no.
And now it's time for cycling shorts.
Cycling shorts now, and we're going to start with news of cycling jerseys. Ahead of the Christmas break, a number of World Tour teams have revealed their 2025 team kits. In the last week, we've seen this from UAE.
Nah.
Not a fan?
That just doesn't jump out here, does it?
No.
This, though, is the update from Astana, who will be known as XDS Astana from January the 1st. Still with their core turquoise colour, but with some new colourful flashes.
I don't like it.
Do you?
Well, yeah, but I just don't think it's going to stand out very much in the peloton.
No, I'm not
really. No. Same story with Soudal Quickstep. Too busy. We've also got this from Team Picnic Post NL, who have a new name along with their new kit.
I actually really like that kit. I'd say it's bold.
Well, it is. That's one way to describe it. The other would say that they've just stolen Group Arm FDJ's design and just put an orange line down it, haven't they?
I can see that now, yes.
Yeah.
And finally, we have this from Red Bull Bora Hansgrohe, whose kit is being supplied by Specialized, their bike suppliers, next year.
It's different this year, isn't it, I suppose?
It is. Is there a but at the end of that?
There isn't, actually. I like it.
Okay.
I think it's a hot from me. I mean, it wouldn't be the first white and black team kit in the Pro Peloton, would it?
No, UAE's is reasonably similar, but anyway.
That's cool, it's classic, I like it.
Once all the 2025 kits have been revealed, we'll do a full hot or not feature over on the GCN Racing channel.
Yeah, we'll probably need to update our heads of fashion as well, won't we?
Was that was Adam Blythe and Tiffany Cromwell, wasn't it? Are you saying that they're too old now to fulfil that role?
I think, basically, yes. We were told that we were too young at their age, weren't we? So,
too old?
Too old, sorry.
We've never been accused of being too young.
No, that's true. Yeah, okay.
Although, even when we were deemed unfit for said job, I think that was probably more down to our complete lack of fashion sense as opposed to our age. But anyway, who are the most fashionable riders in the peloton now? I've got no idea.
No, I don't know.
I'll have to throw that out to the viewers as well. Let us know who we should ask to fill those very important roles.
So yeah, two important things now. How to improve rider safety and who looks the coolest.
Yeah, who's got the best fashion sense.
Yeah, right, moving on. Just days after Remco Evenepoel crashed whilst training at home at Belgium, the GOAT, Eddy Mercx, also had a really nasty incident. His rear wheel slipped on a train track near Mechelen whilst he was riding alone.
He told local media that he panicked a bit because he was unable to move and nobody initially came to help, as you would if you're lying on some train tracks.
Oh, God.
But he was eventually aided by a passing motorcyclist and a couple of other people. He's since undergone surgery for a fractured hip. But amazing, he's already at home and walking on crutches.
That sounds like a speedy recovery. Yeah. Not bad for a 79-year-old, remember. Get well soon, Eddie. I mean, he'll be back on the bike, won't he? He said he doesn't want to ride alone anymore.
No, he's going to ride with other people.
Fair enough. Right, next up, some Strava news. Now, I'm sure most of you watching this use Strava, and so I'm sure you will have all noticed its new AI tool summarising your activities. Now, I can't help but think, though, that...
Think what?
Well, it's starting to take the piss, to put it bluntly. As we all know, Strava's AI is relentlessly positive. But I've started to wonder if actually it's begun to learn the art of sarcasm. Sarcasm,
You think it's trolling you?
I do. So I did a 48-kilometre ride last week, and it said... Epic long-distance ride, crushed your typical distance.
Well, was it longer than your normal ride or not?
Well, I mean, it's longer than my very recent rides, but it's obviously got a short memory, right? Because it was only a few weeks back that I did the Gravel World Champs, which was 135 kilometres longer than my epic long distance ride. I mean, I just feel like if you've done a ride of more than 150k in the last few months, a 48 kilometre ride shouldn't be described as an epic long distance ride unless you're being trolled.
I know what you mean. Although I did also have the epic long ride description from Strava a couple of weeks back.
And how long was that ride?
82 kilometres.
Wow.
Si.
Well, you see, that is an apt description for you, isn't it?
Well, I feel insulted by not AI anymore, just the person sat next to me. But you are right, that was my longest ride I looked up since 2019.
There you go. Which reminds me, actually, so I got a text last week from Simon Mottram.
Well, Simon Mottram, the Rapha founder.
The founder of Rapha, yeah, that's Simon Mottram. He said, I'll get my phone out, actually.
You better quote it. You don't want to misquote the
I do not want to misquote the founder of Rapha. Yeah, hang on a minute. He said, "Hi, Simon. I hope you're well. Thanks. I was thinking about what Dan said on the GCN show a few weeks ago, that he's never done a ride of more than 260 kilometres in his life. That might have been the Tour of Flanders, but there's no excuse. Do you reckon he would join me for the Manchester to London ride next June? It's 350 kilometres in a day. It would seem a shame not to put his newfound fitness to good use. I'm sending this to you in the hope that you'll read it out on the show for added pressure." So there you go, Dan.
Well, thanks very much for reading it out. And in answer to your question, Mr. Simon Mottram, the answer is no.
Well, he thought you might say that, to be fair. So he put in a PS.
Right.
He said, if he says no, tell him it's for charity.
Oh.
So apparently, over the last 10 years of that ride, they've raised more than £2 million for Ambitious About Autism.
That's... well, now you're reading it out, it's just basically like blackmail. I'm still saying no. Why would I do a 350 kilometre ride? That's just ludicrous.
Well, for charity.
But I can't actually believe that you're doing this to me. When did you say it is?
June. So you've got plenty of time to prepare, mate.
But it also means...
you lose a bit of that bulk upper body.
No,
those
well,
pecs, it's going to slow you down.
I can't tell you how hard it has been to build any sort of muscle. And this will mean doing quite a lot of long rides in preparation for one long ride, longer than I've ever done in my life.
Yeah. To think when you did your 260 kilometres, Tour of Flanders, you were in peak fitness.
Yeah, it's a lot fitter. I'm still going to say, I'm going to say no. And I'm going to say no unless I raise enough money then.
Oh, it's a maybe. It's how much money?
15 grand. 15 grand, no. That's got to be more than 15 grand, isn't it?
Well, you said 15 grand.
Oh,
so you've made a commitment now, Dan.
I've really marked that one up.
Yeah, £15,000. Right, come on then. That is about 30 pence per viewer of this show. What's that, about 35 euro cents or dollar cents? Yeah, so, well, I'll tell you what, I'll take it upon myself to set up a fundraising page so we can get some momentum going. We will put a link below this video and...
what have I done?
Where we go. Well, it's not what you've done, it's what you will do, Dan. 350 kilometres, boom!
I should have said way more money than that.
Well,
let's not publicise that. We might not reach 15 grand.
OK, well, whilst Dan contemplates what his life has come to, I'm going to return briefly to Strava, they've recently done their own version of Spotify's Wrapped. This caught my attention on Instagram. Somebody recorded their childbirth and uploaded it to Strava. So Marina, what a legend. I hope that, would that child have happened if it hadn't been uploaded to Strava? That's the question.
How long did that take, incidentally?
5 hours, 37 minutes. Only 81 beats per minute average, though.
So basically, this Manchester to London ride is going to be longer in duration and harder, I would say, than that.
Yes. Although some would say that the pain of giving birth lasts for 18 years.
Well, there is that.
Yes.
OK, anyway, away from Strava, there have been a couple of bike launches over the last week. Firstly, the Colnago Y1RS, which is their new aero offering. I think we could describe that bike as radical.
In like a trendy way. Wow, that is radical.
Well, no,
I think they say rad these days.
Departure from the norm.
Yeah, we could. Yeah, it definitely is a departure from the norm. And it is quite radical, isn't it? It's about as far from the norm as you could get while sticking to the UCI's rules on bike design.
Yeah.
If you want to know all the details on that, then make sure you watch the tech show from last week. And if you want all the details on that new XDS Astana bike we mentioned at the top of the show, Connor took a closer look at it on a video that has just been released on the tech channel.
Very good. Next up, proof that GCN is once again having an influence on the largest issues within cycling. You may remember last week, Ollie and Hank had a bit of a dig at the BBC, didn't they, for not shortlisting Mark Cavendish in their Sports Personality of the Year awards. Well, off the back of our complaints, the BBC will now be awarding him a Lifetime Achievement Award.
There you go. Now, of course, there is a small chance that we had nothing to do with it.
Doubtful, but there is a chance, yes.
Yes, but anyway, joking aside, well done, Mark, because that is, well, it's very well deserved,
It
isn't
is,
it?
yes. Let's move on then to what is a very sad story now from Magnus Ankerstern last week, which he sent us. In it, he told us about Nørrebro Cykleklub teammate Carl. So 3 months ago, Carl was involved in a horrific incident during a race near Copenhagen. A man, apparently under the influence of drugs, on an illegally modified electric bike, ignored road closures and warnings from race officials, forcing his way onto the closed race circuit. Tragically, on one corner of the course, that rider then collided head-on with two of their teammates, both of whom were in a breakaway at the time. They both sustained serious injuries, but Carl was hit the hardest and remains in hospital. He's been left paralysed from the waist down.
Oh, Carl is just 29 years old, father of a 1-year-old son. Been devastating for him and deeply affected the club as well. So they decided to launch a fundraiser to support Carl and his family. In 10 days, they've raised over €135,000.
Wow, it's a lot, isn't it? I know this story's going to resonate with a lot of you out there, because if you're a cyclist on the road, you realise you're vulnerable and you just hope that you're never in the wrong place at the wrong time. Carl was, and he'll live with the consequences for the rest of his life. All of us here at GCN send our very best wishes to Carl, and if anyone would like to contribute anything to the fundraising page, we'll leave a link below. Right, we'll finish cycling shorts by now announcing the winner of the brand new Wahoo Ace. This is a giveaway that we told you about a couple of weeks back. We had one head unit to give away, and so the one lucky winner is Joachim Agard.
Oh, there you go. Well done, Joachim. We will get that sent out to you ASAP.
Well done, Joachim.
Yeah. Bit of a change of gear there, wasn't there?
It was a bit, yes.
Yeah. But anyway, that's great news. Well done, Joachim.
Hack/Bodge of the week now. The part of the show where you can get involved. globalcyclingnetwork.com/uploader.
You look like you struggled a bit there, mate.
I did, yeah. I forgot what our own website was called, or the name of our company. Starting this week with one from Hugh Owens. Not actually mine, but spotted as part of a local church's Christmas display. An old bike wheel repurposed as festive wreath.
Oh, how cool is that? I've got no idea why that's in a church's Christmas display, but I like it.
I like it as well. And
Yeah,
actually, a
brilliant.
nice reminder to ask our viewers, Si, if they can send in their Christmas-related or festive-related hacks and bodges ready for next week's show, which will be out on, what, 23rd of December?
No, 24th.
24th,
isn't it? It's
yeah,
on
Christmas
Christmas
Eve.
Eve.
Oh, yeah.
Whoa.
It'd be nice if you could send some in. That'd be great.
It would. Yeah, really good. Right. What were we saying? I mean, hack.
I'm going with hack.
Oh, yeah. You can't be too Scroogey at Christmas, can you?
No.
So yeah, that's a hack. Next up, Matt Rogers of Brooklyn. On first glance, you may think, what a great parent creating a safety barrier for the kids on that extra cycle, which is a cargo bike, a long-tail cargo bike. But, Matt says, at what cost? Seemingly grandma's mobility. It's part of a standard American walker. Not sure if they have the same in the UK, Matt says. I believe they're called Zimmer frames in the UK. Anyway, there you go. So yeah, they've created effectively a seat and safety barrier for their kids on the back out of the Zimmer
It looks
frame.
quite comfy, doesn't it? And
Yeah.
safe. I'm going hack with that.
I think that's cool. And what's brilliant as well is that if someone were to crash into you from the back, the rubber pads on the end of the Zimmer frame would stop them impaling themselves on the metal tubes.
Everyone's a winner.
Apart from Grandma,
Yeah.
who's now unable to move. But hey, maybe it was just like a spare Zimmer frame. They must come
Maybe,
up
yeah.
quite frequently, I would have thought.
Maybe it suddenly becomes spare.
Exactly, yeah.
Anyway, next up, Brad DeToe. Do you reckon that's right?
Yep.
After your old cycling gloves no longer respond on your phone's touchscreen, just hack them. Cut small incisions across the index and thumb, just below the tips. Poke your fingers in and out effortlessly without taking off your glove.
Well, now there's a thought, isn't it? I mean, it is annoying if you can't operate your smartphone's touchscreen with your gloves. But equally, I'm pretty sure there's a strong argument for saying that you should mostly leave your phone in your pocket.
Yeah.
What do you need it for when you're on a bike ride?
Well, yeah, very, very true.
So,
the best
you know-
part of a bike ride for me is the fact that I'm not on my phone for 30 minutes at a time on average on the bike ride.
Yeah, but I can see the merits of this. It's just, are you going to get cold digits? Just so that you can...
I think you can sort of poke them in and out, but I would get annoyed if they accidentally got...
Cold draft coming in?
Yeah.
Bit of moisture. I'm going to have to say Bodge on that one.
I think I'll go Bodge
I don't like the smartphone dependency being displayed there. Right, okay. Sorry about that, Brad. Oh, by the way, did we say the other one was a hack or a Bodge? The Zimmer frame one.
Hack, we said.
Hack, great. Next up, this one from Don't Tell the Wife. Okay, having just watched a recent GCN show, cycling/sex toy crossover. Okay, I remember this one, where the hack was to use some bondage tape. It got me thinking. I've been struggling to get all the air out of my Shimano 105 front brake. And having settled on it's good enough without nagging feeling like there was still some air to be expelled, I decided to implement a new tool for the job. I used a vibrator on the hydraulic hoses, and hey presto, it was like a bubble bath. Brakes are now perfect. Next email is to Park Tool, as this tool should have a number. Obvious cleanliness protocols were followed, and no nasty mineral came into contact with it. I've decided to keep my marital bliss and not tell the wife, so appreciate it. This is used not to share my details. Jay from Somerset. Local.
Oh, that narrows it down, doesn't it?
Oh, that's quality.
No, I know this works. I've tried that. No, I haven't. I'm only joking.
You can't bleed disc brakes.
No.
Not a chance.
No. Well, I'll try it now.
Brilliant. What a hack.
It's got to be a hack, surely, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah.
I like the fact that Jay would like to remain anonymous and then puts his... he probably hoped that we wouldn't read out where he was from. Somerset.
Well, lots of J's in Somerset, aren't there?
Probably, yeah, but you could probably start narrowing it down pretty quick, I'd imagine.
Yeah. There is that picture. Oh, it's genius. I mean, he's not lying. It really is.
Very good, Jay.
Golden purple.
Probably the best hack we've ever had.
Yeah, I think it probably is. Oh, amazing. Well, I mean, the door's wide open now, isn't there, for other cycling/sex toy related
We've reserved next week's segment of Hack and Bodge for festive related hacks and bodges, haven't we?
Well, maybe
the first one back in January reserved.
I was going to say maybe
toy related hacks and bodges.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, the mind boggles at what we might get.
I'm pretty sure people's minds at home are boggling right now as to what they can submit.
Oh, that's absolutely brilliant. Okie doke. Oh, fantastic. Right, okay. Well, on that note, should we draw Hack or Bodge to an end?
I think we should. You know how, just before we do, you know how earlier we were sort of saying that we were told we were too old to be judges of fashion?
Yeah.
I think we're probably too old to be talking about sex toys and how they're implemented in Hack and Bodge as well.
Oh, I don't know, mate. I don't see that there's an age limit on that kind of stuff.
Oh, that's very good.
Yeah.
All right, we'll leave it as it is.
Yeah. It's time now for Caption Competition, that part of the show where you get a chance to get your hands on a coveted GCN Camelback water bottle. All you got to do is put a witty caption in the comment section down below that relates to a video?
Once or twice it might have done.
Yeah, it's getting contagious, this night, remembering
yeah.
stuff that you do week in, week out. A photo that we will give you in just 1 second after the results from last week's photo,
Is it contagious or just age? One of the two. It was this one of Antoine Lotte of France and Benoit Cousnefoy, in fact, both of Decathlon Age2 Art, their team presentation. The winner this week is... Oh, we did describe it, actually, didn't we, for podcast listeners?
Go for it, mate.
Those two are sat down in bright white sneakers. They're fresh.
Team shoes.
Yeah.
Nice.
Black trousers, blazers, looking very smart for the presentation, but both looking down at their phones. Anyway, the winner is Tim Flanagan, who put Caption Competition. Look, this is my barber. He can cut your hair around your ears too. I probably didn't do a good enough description for podcast listeners for that to be funny, but yes.
Well, I mean, it's hard to explain that haircut, which is probably a normal haircut, but from that angle...
Just the angle, yeah.
It's like, yeah, there's quite a bit of clearance on the old ears.
Yeah, there's no hair going near any of those ears, is there?
No, there really isn't.
No.
Anyway, there we go. Right, this is the photo we are going to give you this week. Dan, am I right in thinking that's a triathlete?
You are right in thinking that.
Why have we got a triathlete?
Not just any old triathlete. Gregory Barnaby, who... How much did Mark Frelful of GTN 30 won in prize money?
Oh, I didn't hear that bit.
200 grand, I think it was.
I heard that
He won the series.
The person in triathlon that had the most amount of prize money this year was I can't remember what her name was. But didn't she get £500,000 worth?
Yeah.
It's not bad, is it?
No. Anyway, Gregory got 200 grand, but he is, well, we've got to describe this as well, haven't we? He's going around a corner, so obviously he can't be in the aero position still.
He might be about to fall off,
Yeah.
given his background.
And he's got an aero helmet, very aero bike wheels and skin suit, and then sort of aero shin guards. And then a gap to his shoes.
And
so
no
I will
socks.
I will get you started. They're not socks, right? They're just aero shin covers.
I think you might have taken the steam out of that joke
yeah.
by describing it.
I've gone.
Yeah.
Or is it best that way around, or is it's worse to describe your joke after you've said it?
Well, I mean, I think it's.
I think either way it was rubbish. Anyway, get involved in the comments with your best captions. We'll pick a winner this time next week.
But be nice to triathletes, right?
Yes. Yeah. We've pulled out a load of comments from last week's videos to go through now, after which we'll go through what's coming up on the channel this week. So starting with a load underneath last week's show, Si and I weren't here for it, were we?
We were not, no. Absent.
Which meant that Jace Hode wrote in to say, Si and Dan should let the kids present more often.
Cheekster. Ollie's not far behind us on the old age thing.
No, he'll be catching up when he percentage-wise.
Oh, yeah, good point. Yeah. Anyway, yes, but...
How old is Ollie?
He's 40 next year.
Is he?
Yeah, he is, yeah.
Yeah, so when I'm 84, he'll be 80. That doesn't
go.
sound like much of a gap at all then, does it?
No, that's, well within, I don't know what it's well within, but anyway, there you go, small gap. But no, it was a cracking GCN show last week. So yes, thank you to Hank and Ollie for holding the fort. Then GCN member LKII6CQ said, speaking as a female cyclist, I now want a video that explains how attractive men find cycling as a hobby in women. So there you go. Yes, it did focus rather more on what women think about male cyclists, didn't it? That was the research that they'd found.
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe we should do that.
Mr. Phelan, 1979, said, I'm not looking for a hobby that is attractive to women. I'm looking for women that are attracted to my hobby.
Oh, there you go. We've got our answer for LKII6CQ, haven't we?
Yeah.
Very attractive.
Meanwhile, Philip Waldridge wrote in saying, 96% of women think arguing on the internet is not attractive. Let me explain why they're wrong.
Oh, gosh, that's a dad joke and a half, isn't it?
Well, yeah.
There we go. Right, thank you. That was Philip. Connor went and got a bit of a beasting at the hands of Giulio Ciccone last week. Underneath that video, Welcome Ghosts UK said, imagine being lucky enough to have that weather and sitting on a static trainer. Which, yes, a lot of people pointed out that it seemed odd to go to Spain.
Understandably so.
Yeah.
But I think, as we pointed out on numerous occasions, were Connor to go out on an actual ride with Giulio Ciccone, there wouldn't be much chatting going on.
There would not be much chatting.
Because there'd be a rather large gap.
Yeah. Fair play, Giulio, though. He did the session and then he went and did a 4-hour training ride with his team. So, and it was a proper training session as well. And then MPYKA91 said, I went straight to the comments to correct the maths, immediately reminded that most of us are just nerds who dress up like athletes. So yes, to Connor through a maths question at poor old Giulio Ciccone. Anyway, Giulio Ciccone deferred to someone off camera who promptly got it wrong. What was interesting is there was quite a lot of debate in the comments as to what the right answer was.
Crikey, it must have been a complicated question.
Well, you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm trying to think what it was now. What was it? Hang on a minute. I can... Okay, right, Dan, you ready?
Yeah.
10 plus 5 times 11.
165.
There you go, right? So that's what I would have said as well. But when written down, 10 plus 5 times 11
yes. Crikey,
is
55, 65.
Yeah. So anyway, this is maths
I'm devastated about that.
Maths that I'd completely got wrong. Everyone was throwing in the acronym PEMDAS, which is apparently the order with which you tackle mathematical equations. So I got that completely flipping wrong.
Well, yeah, I mean, you can retract what you said a minute ago about me being good at maths. Already forgotten everything.
I think it depends on how Connor said it. So Connor said it, 10 plus 5 times 11, which made it sound like the 10 plus 5 was in brackets.
Yeah.
But anyway, there we go. So
Well, it was worth the wait, I think. We can all agree, can't we?
It was, wasn't it?
We're sticking with Connor, though, because the next video that we've picked some comments out from was the Road Rage is getting worse video. Here's what to do about it.
Wow, there were some serious comments on this. 1,500 comments and counting.
Well, we thought it would stir people. We were hoping that the comments wouldn't be too negative. They can be on a video like that, can't they, if you get the wrong kind of audience in. But actually, they were brilliant for the most part. Lots of comments saying how much you've appreciated GCN's new videos recently and also how good Connor is on those types of videos. So all those very much appreciated. These are what we've pulled out, though. Excellent 1975, but road rage is a symptom of a much larger issue in the world. More and more people spend their whole day annoyed, in a hurry and angry, easily triggered, always in a fight-response mindset. It's getting worse every day. Whilst Tingly Dingle wrote in, so you're right when you say that everyone from pedestrians to lorry drivers gets angry with each other. The difference is that in drivers, this anger generally stems from frustration, but in vulnerable road users, it stems from fear.
That's a really good point, that, isn't it? I always think that when I watch Jeremy Vine, who's a contributor on that video, he strikes me as someone that rides his bike in a state of kind of... Yeah, fear, basically. And fair enough, right? Because, you know, it can be intimidating out on the city streets. But yeah, really interesting. The Angry Professor was a fantastic contributor to that one. If you've not watched it yet, you really should. But yeah, real food for thought from him, actually. One of which is that, like, getting angry on a road has never achieved any positive outcome ever, basically. So not worth it. And then lastly, a bit of a change of gear, this one. Can I ride 50 miles on a penny farthing? Hank went back to his least favourite type of bicycle. Roger Simmons said it was nice to see Hank acknowledging the peasant as he rode through the villages. Yes. And then Cold Fox said, quoting Hank saying, I don't think the penny farthing was made for hill climbs. He said, time to prove that wrong by putting Andrew Feather on one. Could you imagine?
Oh, man.
I mean, he couldn't ride one, actually, because he likes getting out of the saddle. And I don't think you can ride out of the seat.
Oh, no, he'd be stuffed, wouldn't he?
Yeah, he would. I could beat him.
He'd blow his reputation getting on the penny farthing.
He would, wouldn't he? Yeah.
Right, what's coming up on the channel this week, then? Well, I'll start with Thursday, where we're going to give you 10 things we wish we'd known about winter riding. Who was doing that one?
Connor and Hank, I think.
Connor and Hank.
Yeah, and then on Saturday, Dan... You're investigating whether a budget cap in professional cycling would be worth it. Apparently
the UCI sent out a document to all of the World Tour teams, the men's teams, between the World Championships and the Tour of Lombardy, which was, I guess, mid-October, proposing or giving their thoughts on a potential budget cap in the future. It sounds like one might be implemented in 2026. So I've asked a couple of team managers their thoughts about it. I've also spoken to somebody in Formula One, which is the only other major sport I can find with a team cap as opposed to like a salary cap, and got the general sense of what people think about this proposal.
That is cool. I can't wait for that one. And then on Sunday, a video called Last Presenter Standing. It's a battle to the death from GCN presenters as to who can survive the longest on a group ride. So, yeah, stay tuned to that one. Sounds painful, frankly.
I'm sure it will be. Right, that's all for this week's show. We'll be back on Christmas Eve. See you then.
Yeah, I think we've kept that nice and short this week, haven't we?
Short, yeah.
Nailed it.